This episode of the Redirect podcast was recorded on February 13th, 2026.
My name is Brian Tome. I was born at a very early age.
Hey there. Welcome to the Redirect podcast. This is where we dive into real conversations, share stories, and just hang out talking about finding our purpose in retirement. We're glad you're along for the ride, and let's get into it.
Curt, Dale, back in the studio, excited about today's episode. I think this guy's been on our radar for a while, and finally get him in to dissect him a little bit. Looking forward to that. Quick primer question to get things going for us. Have you had the opportunity to be around a particular church for a long period of time? And if so, what kept you there?
Born into the Catholic faith. I have every sacrament except last rites. And so I've done all that. All my family, both sides of the families, are in the Catholic faith. I still attend Catholic masses at weddings, funerals, special events, and such,
family stuff,
to be with the family.
Mm-hmm.
Then became the time where I had kids, got our kids into church, but then we decided to venture out. So we joined an Episcopalian church. Still had the traditions and the ceremonies and all that stuff. And I met a very, very dear friend of mine, Gene Sherman, who was instrumental in getting me to make my faith my own, as opposed to expectations from outside to say, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And that's what changed my life. And there's Bible studies, and I'm like, all of a sudden my eyes are opened up. Unfortunately, that church went through some issues, so we ended up leaving that. And then I went to FPC, First Presbyterian Church in Beaver, Pennsylvania, Brian. I was there for a long time. Again, education, got involved with the youth group, had a great time, and really had a tremendous following.
So what was it that kept you there at that church for as long as you were?
It was the aspect of a community. It was the aspect of knowledge and learning, going deeper to help me understand. But what I loved about that church was the community, was the opportunity to learn more. And the more that I learned, the more I feel like, oh my gosh, God, you are just so awesome. What your son did for me and did for all of us, I can never comprehend how beautiful of a story that is.
That's a lot of love.
Oh my gosh. So it was impactful. I've seen my faith grow, and I love all aspects of my faith. I love the relationships I had with the pastors along the way. And I am just hungry now because It's something that is I want to do, and it becomes a part of me as opposed to, well, you got to do this.
How about you, Dale? What was it about places you stuck around for a long time that made you stay there?
2 churches. Devout Catholic. I could ditto everything you said, Curt. 40 years. I got involved. I started Christ Renews His Parish, and I was a deacon, and I did everything. And I just realized I wasn't growing. But there's something that happened, though, in college that hit me, that there was a guy that walked up to my door that worked for me. I ran a bunch of cafeterias when I was in college. He just walked up. He's got a Bible in his hand. He said, I'm just here because I think God wants me to, just talk to you about this. I'd always loved the idea of a community, a small community, and being able to talk about this. And I said, later. Well, I talked to him a little bit, but no big deal. And then when I got transferred to Green Bay, took the job, Procter & Gamble, went up to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Who walked into my office but the same guy?
Is that right?
He said, oh, I'm an engineer. I got a job up here, and I had a job up there. And he kind of introduced me to a small group, but I was still in the Catholic Church. And this went on for 40 years. I was going to figure it out. I was going to figure out how to grow, and realized I wasn't.
Yeah.
And then the Catholic Church shut down the church I was going to, and that was my big moment. I'm going to go start my own church. I'm going to go find a defrocked priest, and
he's going to pull a coup on a Catholic
because
parish.
They closed this church. That I was going to because it wasn't related to school. It was all politics. It was all administration. It was all organization. And I said, why not do it on our own? And this kind of came out in a conversation with Brian Wells and, a couple other friends from Procter, and we're starting something. And we're already talking to this guy. This guy was Brian Tome. and all of a sudden I found myself at the second service, missed the first one because I was out of town, made the second service, and I loved the fact. Why did I love it? I loved it. But this church put their finger in my chest and said, hey, do this, try this week. Yeah. Do this week. All of a sudden it became really relevant to my life. Mm. I remember Brian doing a service on cheating on your expense report. Isn't that wrong? All of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I can apply this week. Yeah. And it became very living, but all of a sudden I did get introduced to a personal relationship with Jesus. And all of a sudden it was like, this is where I belong. I'm going to learn as much as I can from this church so I can bring it back to the Catholic Church and teach them how to do it. And boy, did I get iced out on that one. That was that. I said, no, this is home. This is my home.
My journey is somewhat similar to yours in the sense that my perspective of what kept me around in those places changed over time. In like the first iteration of my faith, I was Baptist, independent fundamental Baptist, and I took a lot of comfort and I'll dare say even pride in how well I kept the rules, how well I complied, how well I conformed and met all the expectations. And it fed a sense of superiority that I had no idea. Just didn't even know. That's not what a relationship with God is about altogether. I've enjoyed getting to know what feels like almost a different Jesus. And that started with some church hurt because it started to expose some things like, oh, I don't think this is the way we're supposed to do this. And then ultimately, as recent as 2.5 years ago, I find myself in Oakley after being away from the Lord for a very long time. Second verse of the first song, just weeping. And since then, kind of being properly oriented towards kingdom work, being a part of his story in community. I'm thriving. I can't believe it. I can't believe, like last night, Curt and I sat through the Run Journey host training and just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be.
Oh, was it good? Good. Yeah. Glad to hear it.
Yeah. This is going to be. This is going to be legendary. So yeah, my story has changed, and I can't believe. Like I said, it feels like I'm meeting a new Jesus or a different Jesus, and obviously I'm not. It's just. The support system around that is properly oriented, it feels like, and it's pretty rich.
Well, we happen to have somebody else at the table knows something about Jesus. I think we should probably.
I know about him. Yeah. I wouldn't say I know him. I know.
I would
about
hope you know
him.
I'd hope you know him.
Yeah. I just need to know enough about him to give a good sermon. That's all. I don't really need to have a vibrant relationship with him. Just look like I do.
Yeah, I think you've said recently that like sarcasm and berating people or something like that is your love languages. Yeah,
I'm just speaking for all the masses that love to trash the megachurch pastor. I'm just speaking for all the masses that endlessly hidden.
Yeah, let
weird
Dale
agenda.
do the bio. Let Dale do the bio, and I'll kick that off.
All right, okay, good, great.
We'll get right back into it. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible.
It's going to be a 3-hour episode.
So today's friend of the Redirect podcast is Brian Tome. Brian and I have known each other for 30 years. That hit us the other day, and that's a long time. But Brian's the founding senior pastor of Crossroads Church, and started in 1995 when a group of 11 friends wanted a place for their friends who had given up on church but not God. Under Brian's leadership, Crossroads has since expanded to become one of the largest churches in America, with locations in multiple states and a digital footprint that spans across the country. Brian has started a bunch of nonprofits along the way. He's passionate about eradicating poverty in Cincinnati's urban core, empowering entrepreneurs, supporting women rescued from sex slave trade in India, and feeding and educating children in Nicaragua. He has authored 5 books, hosts The Aggressive Life, a nationally recognized podcast, and leads a movement called Man Camp. He and his wife, Libby, have 3 children and a house full of grandchildren.
7.
He got 7
right now, yes.
grandchildren and live here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome to the Redirect podcast.
Thank you, Dale, Curt, and Adam. It's really great to be here, and hope I don't bore everybody.
No, I
Not
don't
at
think
all.
you're. I don't think you're going to.
Not
You
at
know,
all.
again, we were talking about 30 years, and I think about moments in the 30 years that were big redirects. When you think about the redirects that have happened in your 30 years, Brian, what comes to mind?
Well, I think of when you call redirects, the phrase that's more native to me is born again moments. You know, you guys were going through your religious pedigree earlier on. We all have some religious pedigree, even if it's no religious pedigree. That's our pedigree. I have no religion. I'm anti-religion.
Sure.
Mine was Presbyterian growing up, and I didn't understand that I could have a personal relationship with Jesus. In fact, that sounded weird. In fact, to some of our listeners, it probably sounds weird. I didn't understand that was a possibility. I thought God would just go to church and be bored. And so when I heard about having a personal relationship with Him entering into your life, that's what the Bible refers to as being born again. I thought that's fantastic. It changed my life, 15, 16 years old. But since then, you said with the 30, I've had probably 3 or 4 other born-again experiences, more than that, but big ones, minor ones, were just, I see things differently now, born again. One of them was...
are these all spiritually oriented, or are they just like life?
I think
inflection
they're
points?
spiritually oriented because I think God enables you to see something that you hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
The biblical word for that is kairos. Mark 1:6.
Yeah, kairos moments.
Yeah, the time has come. The kingdom of God is at hand. That time, kairos, is the word, not chronos, which is the chronological time. It's like a moment, bam, like who, I saw the kingdom of God is here. So that was what I was seeing. So like one of them was a rebirth born experience. Crossroads was 7 years old. We had just had our first building. We met and rented a facility, People's Middle School on Erie Avenue in Hyde Park. And we had a building campaign to get our own building. And we won that building, and we doubled in 3 months as a church. We tripled in 6 months as a church. And I was sitting in our brand new building during the week. It was it's still the same one there. It's a concrete floor. And I was thinking, wow, this has gone really well. And I'm really concerned here, because I thought I was going to do one campaign and build one thing.
Whoops,
right. I said, God, we're full. This thing is full. We went from 600 seats to 1,200 seats, and it's full, multiple services every weekend. Is this my life? I almost lost my marriage the first campaign we did. When you do a campaign, you say to your kids, hey, guess what? Who's your daddy? I'm not. I'm not your daddy. The next 4 months, I am not your dad. You're not going to see me. I'm going to be out eating meetings, all that kind of stuff. It took a massive toll on my marriage and our family, and I'm just barely, maybe recovering from that. And I'm saying, I got to do it again. And then what? I'm 30. I'm 35 years old. Is this the rest of my life? Forsake my life? Give up? Give all my money away? Because you can't have anybody to sacrificially give when you don't. You got to be the lead giver, right, in terms of your sacrifice. So I cash out again, and then I give 4 months doing it, and then I get more architects, and I have bigger buildings, and we get a larger mortgage, and then we do it all over again. Is this why? Oh God, I said, God,
still carrying the weight of like my family. I'd love to get to know my kids, all that kind of stuff,
all of that stuff. And I said to God, I don't think I'm going to do this. I don't think I want to do this. I can't have that. And God gave me, so I said, a reborn moment for the kingdom of God. That's where my understanding of the kingdom of God got reborn, which is Jesus' understanding that there's have your will be done on earth as in heaven. That's the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God isn't something you die and you graduate to. Right. It's a realm of existence, the way things should be on earth. It's when shalom comes, which is flourishing, which is peace, and it's working for that. So God said, what if you took all these people and you used that as a launching pad for the kingdom of God. And I thought, okay, that I could do. And that's what led into the child sex slavery and CityLink, doing that down in Cincinnati and other things. Because now it was no longer about me just building and sustaining the organization. Yeah. Now it was about a launching pad to something much grander. In fact, when we built the addition on that building, went from 1,200 seats on that building to 3,500 seats. We actually we put banners out on the construction fences that said it's a launching pad. Because it was for our church to remind we're not just building big buildings. This is a launching pad to launch you into the world. Mm-hmm. But people driving by
provocative from day one.
Well, people want to come by thought we were a cult. One of the many reasons people think we're a cult. When people think you're a cult, they're going to find any reason to justify that. So, they believe in spaceships. Like take it off.
They all wear the same sneakers too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a long answer to. Your question, but there's a number of those born again experiences that have been coming to me over the last 30-some years.
I think back on that time, just not to just constantly reminisce here, but for me, I remembered I was working with a communication group for the first campaign, and our theme was about where else can you impact future generations. Yeah. For a while, it was, are we going to make it to next week? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like impacting future generations with this, whatever it was we were launching. And wow. For me, that was a super powerful moment.
Well, and it's come with sacrifices like, Crossroads is, I don't know what we rank in terms of attendance. When people call us, we don't give our numbers. There used to be a magazine that would track this, and you'd turn your numbers in. 3 out of 5 years, we were the fastest growing church in the country, and we were up, which is really rare to be as large as we were as well. And so once I learned there was a competition, and I understood what the metrics were, they measure your average weekend attendance from January to the week after Easter. And I realized, this is the game. Okay, let's double down on it. And then finally, I said, "No, this is really sick. We're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to turn our numbers because I don't think it's sick that we were winning. I don't think it's sick that our church even knew it. But just me. It was for my own heart. I was like, So that's a long way around to say, Crossroads could be, I believe, a lot bigger than it is right now. But I'm not drawn to grow Crossroads as much as I was as a 30-some-year-old. I like the things that are coming out of it. I want to put my growth energy there, the kingdom and things. I see your water thing, Adam, with the MC, with the man camp. We're putting massive amounts of creative energy and other resources into the camping initiatives, which is not growing our church the normal metrics of attendance that people measure to justify their leadership, but it's a kingdom of God thing,
Yep. So. It's something comes up a lot in our podcast, and it is the fact that his legacy is a gift brought forward. Like the question I just asked you, Brian, is those learning experience, those moments of redirection, those are gifts. But now it's like, what do you do with them? How do you bring them forward? And being able to identify that, because something happened that drove you to man camp. Something happened that gives you the gifts to be able to grow, to launch again. Right. That's something we believe a lot in. Yep. But that was a gift given by God to do something else. Now I got to go do it.
Yeah. I'm in this wonderful feeling right now that I'm so aware of what God's doing around me, which is tremendous. And the Crossroads experience is so alien to me. As you heard me say earlier, I 27 years in Beaver, Pennsylvania, went to First Presbyterian Church, the Presbyterian regime and such. So here we're moving to Cincy. I left my whole congregation and all the people that I knew, and it's like
5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years. Well, it was 2020. Yeah.
So I've been here for 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like, I got to find a new community. And then I talked to the guy, and you might know him from Madeira, George Atkins. And George Atkins said, you got to check out Crossroads. And it's different than what I've accustomed to. Yep. 8:15 in the morning, and I'm feeling the bass just herniate my heart. And it's bouncing up and down, and I'm like, dude, slow down. Time, I'm on my knees.
Same mix for 8:15 and Saturday night service. Yes, right.
Right. So I'm like,
A
dude,
flamethrower right at you.
and then I watch the approach, and I love all the scripture. All of the pastoral leaders are solid into the word, and what I love about it is you're putting application to it. So I'm clicking on these things. And then I start hearing about all the stuff, like you just sort of alluded to, of what Crossroads Church is doing, how you're out there helping with CityLink, how you're doing food drives, how you're doing Christmas drives. And it was hard for me to navigate because it's such a big thing.
Right, yeah.
But guess what? I found a way.
Yeah.
I'm in a Thursday morning Bible study,
Yeah, that's
MOG.
awesome. That's awesome.
I'm doing a group couples thing with Adam's group on Tuesday nights. I'm doing a Mighty Men thing, which was sort of associated to Crossroads to a degree. A lot of Crossroads guys go there. I'm doing Kids Club.
Yeah.
Which I love. I'm not as fortunate as you. I don't have any grandkids at this point in my life, but
You can borrow some. They'll let
that's
you.
feeding. Yeah, I deal with them for an hour and a
He
half.
does
I
on
deal-
Sunday morning.
I get my jazz out of that. I love it. And you are putting our faith to work in the community. And even though I know that this church is a tremendous church because you're meeting people where they are, it's also opening my eyes because I'm sitting with people in Bible studies that are opening their hearts up and talking about where they've been, which makes me go like, wow.
Yeah.
And so thank you for setting up a place where people can come, reestablish a relationship, and get engaged into the community. And I think you guys are doing a great job of that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I didn't come here today to get encouraged, but it feels good. So
Well,
that's great.
now we're going to bring you down.
Well, I got
Great. Let's do it.
Now we're going to talk about getting older. Go ahead.
While we're stroking egos over here, let me pile on. One of the things I appreciate about you specifically in this space is you're uniquely authentic. You know, a lot of people wonder, is he like that all the time? Like, is the Brian we see on stage, is that the Brian in real life? And, you know, with the people in your sphere that we get to know, that's really true. And I think the example of authenticity that is really enriching. It's disarming. It's like I'm just watching a normal dude try to walk with the Lord, and that's encouraging to me. It's not this highfalutin, pretentious, hide my sins kind of thing. It's real. It's real life, real people, a real guy.
My closest friends tell me that people, when they find out that they're a close friend of mine, the question everyone asks is, well, what's he really like? Like what's he really like? And they say, we all say the same thing. You ever see him on stage? Yeah. You ever see him at man camp? Yeah. Exactly like that.
There you go. There you go.
And thank you for that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we're the Redirect podcast, all right? And our focus right now is we're talking about all kinds of redirections in our life, but we're really primarily hanging on the aspect of career transitioning from career into this retired life. You've mentioned a couple times, in sermons, you're, I believe, 60 years old?
60, yes.
Yeah, 60 years old. That time is coming. We want to sort of ask you questions, as we have with other guests, in a pre-retirement aspect, because there's 5 stages of retirement. You've got pre-retirement. You have that honeymoon stage, which is like, hey, I'm done with my work. What am I going to do now? Then comes a time where it's sort of like a disenchantment. Oh, I've traveled around the world. I've shot elk. I've fixed every motor vehicle that's out there to be fixed. Now what am I going to do? And then there's that disenchantment, which then is a critical time of how you deal with that to then get to a point of reorientation and then stability. Right. You've been doing this for how long? How long have you been as a pastor and serving in church?
30 years in Cincinnati, and then another 8 years before that in Pittsburgh.
Okay. So let's just say 40 years. All right, rounding up. Have you thought about being reborn again when you give the keys over to somebody else at Crossroads?
Think about it all the time. All the time. I actually don't like how much I think about it, but I think it's probably a good thing that I'm thinking about it.
Tell us about what you're thinking about.
Okay. Well, we'll let you into our work, into my little. You have different people on here. I'm no John Piper. I'm never going to chair a business or anything like that. You had some Piper, John Pepper.
I did the same thing.
I've met them both. I've met them both, but they're very, very different. Other than they're white and they're old. Other than that, they're 100% opposite of each other. But in the circles I run, and when I say circles, I'm saying when I go to pastors' retreats across the country, I go to one in Cabo every year that it's like a who's who in Christendom, largest church in the country. It's a really cool thing. It's, I don't know, what is it, 25 couples or something like that. It's really good. And when I interact with other people who appears, the same discussions come up again and again and again. They asked everyone want to talk to two things. One, how many sites do you have? How many churches are you started? And the second thing is succession. What are you doing about it? And I've been hearing the succession question since I was 30. In fact, last time I spent significant time with John Pepper was over a week in India. I was 50, and he came and did basically a mission trip with us, and everyone was talking succession. So I said to him, "Hey man, everyone's talking about succession. What should I be thinking?" And John said, "Succession should be the furthest thing for your mind. You're 50 years old, or maybe you're 48. Just live your life." Yeah. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm with older pastors because they tend to have the larger churches, and so they're talking about that. Now I'm assimilating that. Anyway,
yeah. You went and got that problem too early.
I did.
Right. Yeah.
I did. But when I said that I'm sick about talking about succession now, I'm sick of it because guys haven't been thinking about it, and they don't have any leadership pipeline. I don't want to talk about different sites. I want to talk about other Kingdom of God initiatives. What creative things are we doing beyond just adding more seats on a Sunday morning? That's important. And secondly, can we just admit we don't develop leaders? Why in the world do we in the church, we're supposed to be about making disciples? That's what Jesus says, right? Matthew 20, go into all the world, make disciples. How is it we're supposed to be about making disciples, and yet we have people in my position who can't make a disciple to take over for them? Moses had Joshua take over for him. Jesus had 12. Well, one of them was a loser. He was 11 for 12. Pretty good average. Judas.
Good odds out there.
Paul has his Timothy. He's got his Titus. Yeah. And yet entrepreneurial, large church organizations, when they come to the end of their run, they hire an executive search firm, Vanderbloemen. I thought this is really, really odd. So I've been having my eye on that, and fortunately I've been a discipler from day one and built into guys and all that stuff. So we've got a pretty deep bench. But when I realized, okay, we're now doing some really expensive things at Crossroads. So I think it's a long way to get around to your answer. But I'm realizing now that I could start to stand in the way of expensive things that we're doing. Because as an older person now, 60, older than 30, 40, when I was 30, 40 years old, there was no vision that couldn't be financed somehow. Doesn't matter. Go. Yep. Find it, or just get a bank to finance it. Growth will catch up and we'll pay down the mortgage. And it was go. When you get older, you're like,
Yeah.
Do I have the legs for that fight?
Yeah,
anymore?
I don't know that.
Wait a second. The mindset we had early on. I mean, we were spending. You were spending. Right. 30-day cash flow, maybe.
Oh, is it 2 weeks? It still is 2 weeks,
and it still is
2 weeks. Crossroads 3 financial principles are: number 1, bless people.
Yep.
Number 2, base your budget on faith. Mm-hmm. And number 3, spend money.
And has that changed for
you?
It's
changed. No. We're 10 days cash on hand right now.
Yep.
No, we've got our annual budget is operating budget is $63 million, and we're above and beyond that. We have a $210 million 3-year campaign that's happening, and we're 10 days. Wait, why? Because when you're about the Kingdom of God, there's no end of money you have to spend.
Right.
Yeah. You got to fund schools. You got to do this. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I started to realize, okay, there's this really innovative we call it now the Wonder Wall. You guys, it's amazing. It's the only thing we've been told by the experts. We had 3 different companies because we kept having to get rid of companies because they weren't as good as they said they were, because it's literal bleeding edge technology. The only more complicated setups in the country are the Sphere, and that's only because they just did an upgrade, and the San Diego Clippers or LA Clippers, their thing, and I had this pitch to me, like, we should do this. It's augmented reality. It's virtual reality. We're gonna broadcast in the ghost frame and all and I realized I don't want to do this. Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem. I'm always one of the guys who's pushing. Now I find myself at 59. I don't really want to do it. And so I said to Kyle Ranson, I said, well, let me ask you something. I told him this. We had already decided that because I do some aggressive things. I took down 2 bull elk this last year. Guns are a thing for me. I ride motorcycles, and that's dangerous. And so the board said, we have to figure out who your successor is if you drive your motorcycle off a cliff. Said it's Kyle Ranson. No, that's Kyle Ranson. So we kept that under wraps. And finally one day I told him, hey, just so you know, if I take my motorcycle off a cliff, like some organization will say, well, if you get hit by a bread truck, what happens? I said, let's talk about real world.
Yeah.
Let's talk about real world.
Abducted by aliens.
What are you thinking? A bread truck?
Yeah, it's
kind of
you
a
ever heard
weenie,
that? You ever heard
what
that?
kind of a weenie thing is that?
Real world is I take my motorcycle off a cliff off road, or what happened, I was hunting elk 2 years ago, a 300 Win Mag bullet goes 5 feet over my head and sticks in the tree. That was my mistake, by the way. So we finally said, Kyle, I'm just going to tell you this. This is what we're looking. If I go down, I go down, and then I said, this doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the successor, because I plan on going to 70, and if I'm 70, you're going to be in your 50s, and you're probably too old then. But I'm telling you that right now, because it's kind of a test for you, that whether or not you can wait, and whether or not this is going to be central to your identity. He said, "No, I'm great, fine. I'm fine. I want to serve here. I love what's going on. All right." Well, then that one he did great with that for about a year, and then I realized, well, here's what it was. Back to the Wonderwall. So he's the one to push me. Hey, we need to spend this many millions of dollars. It's 15 tons of LEDs that are on motors to go. It's a stage. It's not just a big LED wall. It's really out there.
Immersive experience.
It is an immersive experience. And I said to him in a rather heated exchange, I said, let me ask you something. I take my motorcycle over the cliff. We don't have the cash. At that point, the budget was $15 million for that. At that point, the budget was for that. I said, we're going to have to take out a mortgage for this. This is before we actually did the most recent push, which, i.e. campaign, most recent push.
10X.
I said, 10X, the push for 10X. I said, let me ask you this. Let me say something. If I take my motorcycle over the cliff, do you want the added responsibility of a mortgage that's that much higher? And he said, yeah, I do.
All right.
I went,
Good answer. Good answer, friend.
wow. I was meaning it as a rhetorical thing. Yeah. And what I heard was, oh, you have a hunger for risk. Oh, you have an ability to have vision, and you're willing to live with the consequences instead of just having somebody pitch you. Like, because as a senior pastor or a CEO, everyone's pitching you why their departments should be larger, why they need this. And so when he said that, I sat in that for a while, and I thought, wow, this is something. And then my wife had cancer, and she's right now, and she had the mastectomy, she did the chemo, she did the radiation. Now she's getting into hormone therapy. But I realized I got to serve her, because I have not served her well in the last 30 years many times. We talked about campaigns. I've dropped the ball horribly for seasons of being a husband who's not dying for his wife, and I realized I got to get this one right. Instead of erring on the side of being at the ministry meeting, I need to err on the side of being at my wife's side, which means just having an open schedule. So I said to Kyle, I made him lead pastor.
Year and a half ago, maybe?
A year and a half ago, which gave him more title and also communicated everybody his importance. And I went to him with the cancer. I said, hey, Kyle, you need to I'm going to be stepping away from here. And I had the executive pastor and you reporting to me. I'm going to have him report to you. And I'll be around. Let's have beers once a week. I think I can come in one day a week. But this season, I need to do this. He said, great, I got it. And he's been phenomenal. So where does that leave me now? Now I'm 60 years old, and I'm back, and the church is running well, and Kyle's doing so much that now I'm going, well, wow. I said 70 is when I'm done. I'm either going to be done at 62 or 80. One of the two, because
it's going really well.
It's going really well.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is, you mentioned it earlier, Curt, in our circles, this is probably everybody's circles, but I'll just use my circle. The two things everyone has to look at when they start coming to the end of their current game, there's two P's. It's the purpose and the purse. You have to know what you're graduating to, not retiring from. You have to know what your purpose is, what your point is in life. God put Adam and Eve in the garden. Before anything went wrong on the earth, before the serpent whispered lies to Eve and they ate the forbidden fruit, before any of that happened, he told them, you're supposed to work this garden.
Yeah, he gave him a job.
Gave him a job. Name animals. Do all this stuff. So just because that before sin came into the world, before sin. So in our purest, greatest selves, we're meant to work. We're meant to have purpose. So you got to know what is the thing I'm going to be doing, and then you got to figure out the purse, the financial aspect, which is why most pastors of growing churches hang on way too long. Another little dirty secret.
Yeah, we've got some stats.
Do you know why that is? You know why pastors of large growing churches hang on too long?
No.
Because they've been fiscally irresponsible about their own retirement?
That's partially. It's shocking how many churches have started and have never figured out a retirement plan for their employees. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's because to be a fast growing church or a growing church, a large church, with very rare exceptions, very, very rare exceptions, you have to be in the midst of having multiple campaigns. And if you're going to lead someone to that campaign, you have to be the leader. And so you are always resetting your financial life to zero every time. So when you come to the end, you just don't have the financial wherewithal. So they're like, I got to stay on. Now I've always set apart money. God, Crossroads has set apart money for me. So I'm in a bit better state than most. But those are the two kind of tension points: purse and purpose.
We will rejoin our conversation in just a moment. Thank you for listening to the Redirect Podcast. We appreciate your support. Do you love what you're hearing? Don't keep it to yourself. Follow the Redirect Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and never miss an episode that inspires your next chapter in life's journey. While you're there, hit a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share your favorite episode with a friend who's ready for their own life pivot. And don't forget to join the conversation on Instagram at The Redirect Podcast. Comment, tag us, and let us know how you are redirecting your journey. Now let's get back to today's conversation. When we say the word retirement in here, it's because that's what the culture says. All right. I'm in 100% agreement with you in the sense that we're always working. We're going to be working in heaven. Yeah. I can't wait to see what my job is.
Right.
All right. This is a passion. This is a love for us. But some people equate it to work. I spend 40 hours a week on this thing and, having fun.
Yeah.
Having a blessing.
Right.
But and maybe we're a little early, but I think it's great that you're thinking about it at age 60 and wherever you want to go, 70, 62, 80. Well, that's your call. We've had people on here, Ken Natorp from Natorp's Nursery, who's still working at 82 years old.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants to do. That gives him purpose. That's where he wants to be. And he's also sort of letting go. He's letting his sons take over. You're doing the same thing at your church. You're letting things go. And
my spiritual sons are taking over.
There you go.
Yeah,
and that's an awesome thing. Mm-hmm. So now I want to get to you because you're a personality. You're a dynamic individual. You're a go-getter. I hear you talk about your entrepreneurial aspects. I hear about your adventures. I hear about all the things you love to do in the sidelines. So it seems like you're pretty adjusted in the sense that you've got a lot of support groups out there where some of us like Dale and I who have been traveling all over the country, we leave our work and then all of a sudden, we don't have those community groups because we've always been promoting the brand, so to speak, right? So where are you? Do you define yourself as Brian Tome, Crossroads right now? Is that what you are? And then who are you?
It's more of an identity question, really, right?
Yeah. Well, no, my identity is I'm a son of God, first and foremost. But, our identity, there's so much about the physical world that mirrors the spiritual world. It's not good enough to tell my kids, you're my son and you're a Tome. That's good. That's necessary. That brings with it privileges and blessings and security and thoughtfulness that no one else gets. But kids also need to know, okay, am I an athlete? Am I a geek? Am I a thespian? I mean, they have to have something else to sink their teeth into, right?
Yep.
And so I think just saying I'm a child of God, which is true. Okay, a child of God who's equipped me for what? I am a builder. That's really what I am. In fact, I asked ChatGPT this at the end of 2025 for a whole year. I don't use Google anymore at all. Why would I use Google and try to look through forms for my answer when I can just have ChatGPT look through the forms for me, right? So for a whole solid year, all I've done is not been doing anything. I just asked ChatGPT questions. So at the end of 25, I said, ChatGPT, what do you know about me? Oh my gosh. It like nailed me, like bam, 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 bam. And one of them was, you're a builder. How do you know that? Well, based on the questions you ask, because you asked all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to have to be building something when I move on from the
What does that mean, building something? Building cars, building houses, building people, building organizations, building entrepreneurial spirit? So building faith still in another way?
Yeah. So my leading possibilities right now is I may build with my own hands my final destination home. Last home I built on my own was when I was 28, so that might take up my thing. I might see if Crossroads will contract me to build a ministry if Kyle or whoever is younger than him would have me to take me on retainer to build into the older people in our church who just happen to be the largest givers of the church. We have the largest amount of wealth. So maybe I build a ministry for people 50 plus. We have something like that right now, but there's not really a lot of effort goes. Maybe it's that. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I find a Shelby GT500 to rebuild
after the truck.
After the truck's gonna be a while. Maybe it is. I'm going to. These are. I say maybe. I'm considering all of these things. Do we get a property on our base camp property that can operate as some sort of retreat center?
Love it.
And I bring in entrepreneurs, pastors, business leaders for some mentoring. I mean, it's kind of weird, guys. You become 60 years old and you just know stuff.
Right.
A lot of experience.
But, right. You know,
but what
you know what I'm talking about. Like, you ever have to come out of your mouth like, oh, wow, I can't believe I said that.
Yeah.
That was really smart sounding.
Yeah.
You ever had that? You ever had that?
All the time.
Well, Curt a lot less than most of us, but
we're reacting because we are, I don't know, 69, I'm 71,
55,
50, whatever. Some of the things you're saying resonates so powerfully. One thing that we find out in this pre-retirement stage is, okay, start practicing them.
Yeah,
Get one. You
Test
really
drive.
you want it. I would love to have you start a ministry for 50 plus, 55 plus.
Yeah.
Ditto.
I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, I would jump on that bandwagon, but now's the time to let's just start the process. Let's start working this thing. And that's what a lot of people we find miss because they start thinking about it, but it doesn't hit them until they show up that day and there's nothing on their schedule. And it's this forlorn period of time because they didn't do anything before that day came.
Right. Yeah. Young professionals was native to me when I started Crossroads at 30. And I have to keep leaning young. The church has to keep leaning young. You got to stay young. But 50-year-olds are native to me now.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I have that.
Right.
So there's probably something there. I've got a couple books that I'm working on now, but I haven't really worked on. So that's something I can produce. That's purpose. So yeah, I got a number of things.
So you mentioned that you have an eye for the 50-year-old and above now, right?
Yeah, I do.
What are you seeing in them as they're approaching the pre-retirement? How are you looking at saying, oh, wow, this is going to be me in another period of time, but now you're watching them and like, oh, he's doing it well. He's not doing it that well. What have you sort of gathered from what you've seen?
The main problem I'm seeing with people who are coming into retirement, I know, yes, we don't like that. No, we don't like that term.
End of career, end of business career.
The end of your prime income earning
there
years.
you go. I
Maybe
like
we
that.
should say that.
There we go.
We call it the next 30.
Oh, okay,
It's
that's good.
another career.
I don't see many people having an inspiring vision for their future. I just don't I don't see that. Why don't you have a more inspiring vision? You know what? So you can travel? Okay, I'll take about a year. You haven't figured out how to travel in the last 30, 40 years? Like, you've been putting that off? What? You're now going to join the country club? I'm great for country clubs. I may join one someday. I'd like to get back into serious golf. I got no problem with that. But like, that doesn't inspire me. That's not going to inspire me for the next 5 years, dropping my handicap.
And so I'm really glad that you answered that question that way, because a variation that we had prepped for that question was, are you aware of anyone that you've observed in this next 30 that maintained or grew their impact?
Yeah, I am.
Any good examples of that?
Well, let me tell you what impact is. One of the books that I'm working on, I'm not typing it, I'm still outlining it, I'm still contemplating it, is the last couple decades have been really focused on the shift from boy to man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's 18-year-old. There are such thing as 18-year-old men, and there's 45-year-old boys, and there's 5 marks that distinguish those things. The next step, like, there are very few people go from being a boy to a man. I mean, very few. Like, you can be very, very successful with a lot of money, and you're still a boy. You're still not a team player. You still don't have vision. You still have to be in the majority. You can't take a minority position. You still can't wait not to work. Well, that's what men do. They work. You still you could be. But the next one, we're talking. This book will never be a bestseller because very few people are interested. It's being a patriarch.
Oh, please write that book.
Yeah.
I'm having internal conversations in my family about
Right.
this.
So the Reader's Digest version of the 3 different phases is the first phase of boy, you're all about yourself. When you become a man, you become about others. When you become a patriarch, you become about systems that bless people you'll never know.
Love it.
And so the person who comes to my mind is Gil Hopkins.
Yeah.
Nice.
Gil Hopkins, he died 15 years ago. I'll start crying when I start, talking about him. I came to Cincinnati and someone said, "You got to get together with this guy, Gil Hopkins. You got to get together with him." I said, "Okay," because I'm just trying to gather a core group, right? Trying to gather.
You need some people.
I need some people. This is before we started. Got together with him, share with him my background, told him I'd come to know Christ through Denny Patton, who Curt talked about earlier, and he said, "Yeah, I led Denny to Christ." So what?
Wow.
Yeah, he was at Frontier Ranch. I was volunteer at Frontier Ranch, and wow, so I have my spiritual grandfather here. Well, Gil and Joanne came to our church, and these are people at that point who were all wearing hearing aids and loved traditional church. But they came to Crossroads, took their hearing aids out, and they just built into younger people. And Gil, his life is he never had a kid. They never had children for a variety of reasons. But the men that he blessed and he built into, because the systems in his life, the things that he did, that endures to this day. And he was way, way, way more impactful as a full-time father figure for a bunch of 40-year-old boys. He had a bunch of 40-year-old boys he made into men. Than anything he did as a Chicago cop or as a refuse manager.
Interesting.
Yeah, massive, just massive. So that's where the whole patriarch game is. What are the systems you put in place that are going to go past you? Like you mentioned one, Curt, was how you're having the prayer at Thanksgiving meal. Okay, you're setting in a new system, right? Your boys are modeling that. Like, you're giving them something to replicate. And there's things you can do with your modeling. There's things you do with your finances, how you organize and orchestrate your finances. I'm thinking about one of the things I might build. Maybe I build a hunting cabin someplace, and that hunting cabin is passed on to multiple generations, and that's where the family gathers.
Love it.
And that goes on for generation after generation.
So you talk about patriarchal. Tell me about what is Brian Tome, the grandfather, like?
As the kids get older,
What's the age range?
get older, it's 8 to 6 months,
Okay.
7 months, something like that. My kids will be really upset because they call me the goldfish because I can't remember anything. I can remember maybe 2 of my 3 kids' birthdays. None of my grandkids' birthdays. They'll get all offended. Like, but they, as my kids age and as my grandkids age, I get better and better. I don't understand how to function around an infant, but as they get older and I can throw them around and joke with them,
it's easier.
It's that. So they would. What would they say about me?
I'm just curious, you as the grandfather,
Yeah.
are you making up for lost time? Because you made a comment before that you were away from your family doing the church thing, and now you've got your kids. Are you trying to make up that time?
I wouldn't say I'm making up for lost time in terms of my physical presence with them.
Okay.
I'm not putting a ton of time with them physically right now, but I would say I'm making up time with them emotionally. I'm much more emotionally engaged in their world. Much more sensitive, much more present when they're around than I would have been. My grandson curls up and sleeps on me while we lie on the couch and watch a Paw Patrol movie or something like that. That kind of stuff is precious. I would have never done it as a kid. My kids can curl up on me and fine. And you go to sleep. You're down and I'm up on the computer. I'm working here. I'm not going to sit here and let you sleep on me while I'm watching a stupid ass movie. So those moments are much more important to me.
Yeah. To me, I really so resonate with the way Adventure has taken its part in the church. You personally, Adventures with the grandkids looks like what?
I definitely want to be there for my grandkids' first kill, or whatever it's going to be. I'm a relatively recent hunter. I've been hunting for 8 years or so. So I definitely want to be there for their first kill, whatever, deer or whatever it is. That would be great. But I also want to help my grandkids get skills that they don't have. In fact, my kids have all asked me for this. They said, "Would you give our kids the mechanical skills that you have?" I'd love to have
That's fantastic.
Louis out in the garage. Would you take him in the garage and just help him, have him see you do stuff and be with stuff? Would you?
Let's go change the oil, kid.
Right. You'd be really helpful if you teach our kids to do that sort of stuff and have them around. They're a little young. I've had JJ around. His name is Louis. If you know me, if I love you, you get a nickname. All my grandkids have a nickname. So Louis' nickname is JJ because his dad's name is Junior. Actually, his name is Nick. His father, my son-in-law's name is Nick, which of course reminds me of Nick Jr., which makes me call him Junior. Yeah. So it means his son is Junior, so he's JJ. See how that works?
Totally makes sense
to get there.
We got to bring Kip Corbin in just to talk about his naming structure.
Bring him in. We're gonna dissect this one. All right.
You talked a little bit about leadership and then the migration to the patriarchy, and I've had some career opportunities to grow some leaders, and I really thought that transition to the next level in that is not just to grow leaders, but to grow in those leaders the ability to grow leaders.
Correct.
It's generational replication at that point.
Right.
And I think translating that over to a patriarchal concept is that it's almost that succession planning for generations. I'm teaching my downline people on how to teach their downline people.
And we should probably define for your listeners what I mean by patriarch. I'm not talking about the term as it's usually used as a derogatory term. The patriarchy, meaning men or systemic masculinity that is keeping down women. That form or that thing is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the Old Testament form of patriarchy, which was Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, who knew they were part of a much bigger thing, and they set systems in place that bless the next generations. And they had a vision for future generations. God says to Abraham, "Look at the stars, outnumber the sky." That's what the stars are going to. Your descendants are going to outnumber the stars that you can see right now in the sky. And most people do not have a vision beyond their life. Most men don't have a vision. Boys don't have a vision beyond the next paycheck. Men, if you're becoming, you have a vision beyond when you die. Mm-hmm. You don't have a vision. I have a vision for beyond when I die. That's what a patriarch does. Like, what? How am I leaving? Not leaving the world better, but how am I ongoing to make the world a better place?
Yeah, not necessarily for my own ego stroke,
Right.
like, hey, I'm going to have a
Right.
building named after me,
Right.
and my name's going to live on forever. No, I'm trying to have kingdom-focused, generational impact beyond, as you said, people I may never know.
Yep, I've got, yes, right, Gil Hopkins. No one knows Gil Hopkins unless I bring him up. But I'll tell you what, who knows him really well, not just me. Talk about my stories. I'm going to a surprise 50th birthday party for Josh Surkamp tonight. He's been on Crossroads staff for 28 years, and he comes from a unbelievably brutal childhood. Just, horrible things you could imagine being done to you, they were all done to him. All done. And the fact that he is alive is a miracle of God. And he would tell you that he is alive, and he's the man that he is in massive part due to Gil Hopkins. He's got 6 kids because of Gil Hopkins.
That's amazing.
He's got grandkids coming. He's alive because of him. Gil's legacy is going on. Because as you mature as a man, when you're immature, you need the credit, you need the glory. But as you mature, you don't. There's no limit to what you can do if you don't care who gets the credit. But you grow to a place where you just want to see the thing through, which is why I'm very open-handed with Crossroads and Kyle. And the succession is, I honestly could be done tomorrow, and I'd be fine. I could walk away like that, and I know when I walk away, I'll be forgotten like that, like gone, forgotten like that.
Obviously,
and
we
that's
want
fine.
to argue that point, and it goes against the conversation we're having about generational impact. I mean, the
generational impact is not the same thing as generational notoriety.
Fair enough.
That's what people want. Their legacy gift has to be attached to a freaking name on a building so that someone knows they lived and they did good stuff. That's why Jesus says, give, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Like, don't give to get the strokes. Don't give to get the recognition. Give because it's blessing people and furthering the kingdom of God.
Don't cut yourself short, because I did pay you a compliment when you came in here today about your sermon, your message that you did about prayer. And that changed the way that I pray now, which is now going to be something I'm doing at the table, which could be changing my kids' way of prayer. So I can say that was from a service that I was at, and he brought it all to life on how the great way to pray and how you recognize all the things that you are blessed with, as well as what you want to get out of that.
Well, that's fair enough. I'm not saying I'm a nobody, that I haven't done good things and I'm not blessing people. I'm saying that if I retire tomorrow, the first newcomer to the church the next weekend is not going to care about me at all, won't remember me at all.
Good point.
Good
point. The wheel keeps turning.
Who built this 3,500 seats? And who built the one who built City? Who raised the one? Oh, and who? I've always wondered, who should I be thankful for that branched down to Lexington, Kentucky, and who should? No, it's over there.
Let me ask another question here. You've been a part of Crossroads for 30 years. You leave. Your family's here, so I'm assuming you're going to stay in the area, or are you going to go someplace else?
Good. Thank you.
And then here's the question.
And you know my answer, right?
Where do you go to church?
Yeah. I will 100% be sticking around where my grandkids are, because that's my generational impact. I'm not going to be sticking around where my grandkids are because I need the emotional thing of I got nothing else to do. I'm not sticking around with grandkids because I want homework. I'm sticking around with grandkids because they're
you got work to do.
Heck yeah, I got work to do. I've got systems to set up. I want to be around their parents, so I'm 100% going to be here. And the only reason I wouldn't be around Crossroads is if there was an acrimonious exit, or if the next person feels threatened by me. And if I've discipled and raised up the next leader, and he or she is the right leader, they'd
embrace
it. Are you ever going to be threatened by your father figure is around you? You're not going to be threatened by it. So I would plan on being Crossroads.
That's very different from a lot of other religions, faiths. I mean, I have a friend, and he's 62 years old or so, and he's going to be retiring soon. And then he's like, well, I have to move.
Yeah.
Because if I show up in the church and all of a sudden I'm a distraction to the person that's taken over the pulpit.
Right.
And that's got to be hard.
Yeah, that's rational what he's saying. That's common practice, but it just doesn't have to be that way.
But I think that's also living in the past. I mean, I think the mindset of going forward and now building something new. It was interesting. I had a conversation with the guy that I sold my company to, and he said, "You got to come in." And there's just part of me that said, left that before. He said, "But your fingerprints are all over the place." And I said, "That's great. I'm glad. I was glad to be part of that. But now, I'm sorry, mindset is I'm going on and I'm going to go do these other things, and you leave those people behind. But I also don't worry about how they feel. I mean, you've done what you've done." Yep. And you're going forward. And you and I talk about this all the time about the relationships we left behind. Well, they were business relationships. How nice. That was great. The real ones are still there. The couple that are hung on and close, they're still, and that's the gift. That's a gift that I've been able to bring forward, that you bring forward, that you're bringing forward, Brian. You're right in the middle of that. It's like, so what do I do with all this stuff that, that God's given me?
Right.
And there's a bunch of stuff out there, which is really exciting, which is why we got to bring you on again, because I want to talk more about the systems that you're going to be setting up.
Yeah. Very interested in that.
Yeah.
This has been fun. Thank you.
Good. Glad it's been fun.
Really enjoyed.
Did you enjoy yourself?
I did enjoy it. I'm never sure what the line is between sharing product knowledge of an industry that people may not be familiar with, which may then be somewhat interesting, that versus going down a rabbit hole in something that's in my quote-unquote industry that's not relatable. So it was the former, not the latter.
I think it was great.
Loved it.
I think it was great. How can people get in contact with you?
BrianTome.com says it all.
And thanks for joining us on the Redirect Podcast.
We'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the 1819 Innovation Lab at the University of Cincinnati for their incredible support and partnership making this show possible. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can find more of our content on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as Instagram. Have questions or want to connect? Drop us a line at info@redirect-u.com. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, there's purpose in your life, so find it and go do something about it.
Hey, I've got one more comment. The Redirect Podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We engage in an open, honest conversations about personal growth, life transitions, and the lessons we've learned through our own experiences. While we speak as experts in our own lives, we are not licensed therapists, medical professionals, or certified coaches. The content shared on the Redirect Podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of qualified professionals for any physical, mental, or emotional concerns that you may have. We're grateful to share this space with you and hope that our stories inspire reflection and connection. If you're in need of more support, we encourage you to connect with a trusted professional who can help.